You've probably heard about the Scamanda story, but today you're going to hear how it affected someone in real life behind the scenes and how that betrayal actually led her to her true passion. It's going to be a good bonus episode of Candidly with Coffee, and maybe not coffee, maybe a little tea.
I didn't believe it. I didn't understand, and I fought for Amanda. I felt like I knew her very well. I had been doing her hair for years, and I'd been helping her. It was impossible. This girl was vivacious, kind, beautiful, had a darling family, handsome husband, cute little boys. I just wanted to help her. I felt compelled to help her. I just didn't feel that it was fair for a young woman so vivacious to be suffering the way that she was. So I did her hair for, I don't remember how many times and how long. I gave her a wig because I was heartbroken about her losing her hair. I felt that she was so strong for being able to have a smile on her face. So now there's a podcast. The girl that I advocated for, that I helped, and now there's a podcast, and it's called Scamanda.
All right, so let's take it all the way back to the beginning. Okay, we got a little intro, we got a little bit of your story so far, but how did you first meet her?
At church. I was, I think we might have done something on stage. You know, I was doing announcements at the time, and there was a lot of like things going on for her. People helping her out, and I know that at some point we brought Christmas presents over for the kids to her house. And we were kind of both in leadership. So we had just done, different things together. And then I had kind of gotten to know her and heard her story. Mm-hmm. And that's how it started. Just kind of meeting her through other people and through the church and her getting help.
And you knew at this time she was on her cancer journey.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. What made her story so believable, do you think?
First of all, how do you you don't even think that someone would lie about that. Like, why would anybody want to lie about that? I mean, we all have been touched by cancer. We all know someone who has died or lost someone from cancer. Yeah. And it is it's such a serious thing. It's such a hard thing that you just can't even wrap your head. I mean, you wouldn't even think to think of it.
It wasn't even a thought.
It wouldn't even cross your mind.
Okay, so how did you come about knowing something was off? Did you sense something was off, or did you know, or did it get blown up? Like, how did you find out?
Well, but I started doing her hair. I knew this woman really well. I kind of want to backtrack because I don't remember how it came about, but she was doing all these different charity functions. Like, she was the recipient, and I ended up, she came to me to get her hair done. Mm-hmm. And during that appointment, she was talking about, we kind of got to know each other because that's where I get to know people really well, is behind the chair. And so, she started telling me about her journey and everything that happened and all the things she had been through. She talked about, her Corey's ex-wife. Mm-hmm. She talked about the custody battle. She talked about how, just all these things that were said on this program. So my sister was my assistant at the time, and we ended up, doing her hair and not charging her because I just felt like, you've been through so much. My heart was just kind of open, and I was just kind of and I mean, she was like, no, I'll pay, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And, you would just never suspect. She's super happy, dynamic, but going through this, and you just kind of felt like she was a real fighter. Mm-hmm. That's how you felt. You felt like, 'cause I'm a fighter like that. Even when I'm in pain, I'll put a smile on my face because it's like, I just do, because it's no one else's thing, right? It's just and I feel like there's a certain strength in that, you know? And so I just really respected her for being so vibrant, even though she felt so awful. Because it was hard. So I didn't see it as she was healthy, so that was weird. Right. Or she looked good. I felt like, wow, she's a real freaking survivor and a real fighter. Because she has this horrible death sentence, and she still finds a way to be happy and to look pretty and to want to do her makeup and all of that. So one thing led into another, and I did her hair several times, actually. then
What did you do for her hair?
Oh, everything. Like we would color it. I mean, I was just like, I just wanted to make her feel happy.
Yeah.
Make her feel good. Do something sweet for her. And so we would just do whatever she wanted. If she wanted to go blonde, we went blonde. If she wanted to go back dark,
And
we
you
went
never
dark.
charged her anything?
From what I remember, I don't think I ever charged her. At one point, she said that, she was doing the chemo and she lost her hair. So she came in with no hair.
Which we will put some pictures up on the screen.
Yeah. She came in with no hair, and I got her a wig. I gave her a wig, and I styled it and colored it and made it look beautiful on her. And we took pictures and we did a whole thing, and I shared it on my social media. And from that, I ended up every year, a big group of friends of mine have a Christmas party, and every year we have a recipient that we bless. So we've gotten people wheelchairs and Disneyland trips, and I've gotten wigs for people. And, we've lost some of those people,
Yeah.
And it just kills your heart because you just get to know them, and we
Right.
really take them under our wing. So I thought she'd be a perfect recipient for this group of ladies. And I brought her to our annual, it's like our 23rd annual Christmas party or whatever. And so, I mean, she got to know the ladies. We talked. She gave a little talk. A few of the ladies really took her in, and I believe gave up an entire month of her business income. She got cash. I mean, the gifts that they gave her were very, it was very generous, and everybody really loved her. She was just a really good speaker, and she really felt genuine.
Oh,
I mean,
that's
it's
scary.
so sad when you know that somebody, I don't know, you just didn't have a reason to doubt her.
Right.
So she was our recipient 2 years in a row.
And you're the one who brought...
I introduced her to everybody.
Gosh, you wrapped up in this.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was there was just so many things. It was just somebody that you just really, she had two beautiful little boys.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she told us a story about her boys being a miracle because she was on drugs, like the cancer drugs, the horrible medications. And we were like, how it's amazing that her son is so healthy. And they were a cute couple. They were both good looking. They were just a happy, sweet couple. They got involved in the church. They helped other people. So it was just very natural to help them. And when our relationship changed a little bit is one time she came in to get her hair done, and we were going blonde. And back then, there wasn't all the social media that there is now, where you dye someone's hair, or they come in for a consultation and you tell them, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get you as light as you want to be without damaging your hair. So it might take some time. Well, we did her hair, and it was kind of like a little bit yellowy. Really cute though, because she wanted to change. So it was literally like our whole day, because it takes hours to bleach someone's hair platinum. So then I feel like I'd done it more than once, but one of the times that I dyed her hair platinum, she had complained about it a little bit, and she wasn't really happy with it. And it just felt kind of odd. And then I saw her like a few days later, and her hair was back to brown. And at that time, I thought it was just something was like, that was really, I mean, we gave her our whole day, and I didn't charge her, and she just had someone dye her hair back instead of calling me. And I don't know, it was just
something was off. That was the moment.
It was the moment that I did. And then I just sort of distanced myself a little bit, because I just kind of felt like a little bad, dang girl, that was a big job. And so that's when I did. And then I sort of we kind of, fizzled a little bit.
But she was still actively in the community, think she's fighting cancer throughout this time?
Yeah. And then I feel like maybe things were maybe at a point where they were starting to back off, because this was 2 years of her coming to the Christmas parties. It's different things. I wasn't her, a best friend. I saw her a lot socially, and since I had done her hair, we knew each other well. She would tell me about her trips to New York, and I mean, very detailed. She said it was $10,000 for this treatment. It was a very, it was this trial, and I mean, everything sounded so legit. And she would show us pictures of her in the hospital, and she would talk about how she was, raising money to go. And of course, every time she would come to get her hair done, we were hearing those stories, and it would get my heart. How can I even charge this girl for her hair? I do kind of love my job, and my heart was very much it just felt right.
Right. And it felt good.
I can't
to do
give
that.
you money, but I can do this for you.
I can do this service.
Yeah,
for
because
you.
my service, to me, I enjoy it. And I love helping people. And I've always had a heart for those who are suffering, to give them just a little joy. Because for some reason, our hair makes us feel good when we get our hair done or when we get a massage, So it was just more of like, I don't know, just taking one little burden off of her. And it's an expensive burden. It can be pricey to get your hair done.
Yeah.
So that was kind of how that went. And I would see her socially, and we always said hi and give each other hugs and everything. And then we moved to Gilroy in 2016, and we started going to a new church because we were farther away from our old church. And I know that things had happened. I got a phone call from one of my girlfriends from the party, probably the year before that. I'll backtrack. And she said, hey, one of our friends got a call from the feds saying that Amanda was being investigated. She's like, I'm devastated. Like, she was the one that would have the parties. Like, she was this beautiful, caring soul, and she always would try to help anybody. She was the one that did all the work. She made it happen.
Yeah.
And we just adore. I adored this woman. Like, she's just such a kind person. And I was like, I'm so pissed.
Now, when she said she was being investigated, did she say for what? Like, did you know it was like the fraudulent?
It was kind of like she didn't know a lot, but yeah, it was definitely something about that. She's being investigated for fraud, like for, something. And it wasn't like she doesn't have cancer or anything, but just all this charity and stuff. But I was literally pissed and adamant. And I was like, you know what? I know this girl. I've known her for like 4 years.
You were going to bat for her?
Hell yeah. Like, I was pissed. I was like, that sucks. Not only are you suffering, but then people are like pissed off because you are raising money. I was so frustrated.
Yeah.
And my heart hurt for her because I don't care if she went to someone else to get her hair done.
Yeah.
I mean, she was still my friend. I cared.
Yeah.
And so it was just, I was really irritated. It never even crossed my mind that was not happening. Wow. Not even once. I just was like, she's so sweet. I said, honestly, like, I actually know her.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't bring a stranger in.
Right.
This is a woman that I know. I see her every week, no matter what,
You were like, not only were you knew her, you did her hair. I almost feel like, gosh, like that, you felt like it was on you a little bit. Did you have a little bit of feeling because you brought her into this group? Like, you're like, no, guys, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I was like I would
embarrassed?
never, not at that time. No, I was sad. Because I was like, no, they're wrong. Like, they're going to find out.
But when you figured it out.
So that happened. And then that was all I heard of it.
Okay.
And then you started hearing rumors, more and more stuff. So then, and I just held my position. I just thought, well, she's going to be able to show them what they need to see, and they're going to feel stupid, and they're going to be, I mean, I was really cared about her, and I felt bad because I thought, what an awful thing to have to go through and then have people doubting you.
Yeah.
Which now I'm embarrassed.
Right. Well, what happened? How did you find out?
So it was all happening. And then I was in another state, I think, at a business conference, and someone had said something about this podcast about Scamanda. And I was like, what do you mean Scamanda? And they're like, oh, this girl that faked cancer. And I was like, what? What's her name?
You mean you never got
I was not contacted.
Because you're not in that church anymore, so you're kind
of... Well, no, I mean, actually, funny thing is I still go to the church, but yeah, we had sort of like moved. So we moved. But then in 2016, before even the show came out, I saw her. We had moved to Gilroy. We were at a new church, and her and Corey were there, and the boys.
Amanda?
Yeah,
and this is after you got the call about the feds?
I think so, yeah. And I just let that go because I was like...
You thought that must be a charity thing.
It, And I knew there was and I knew that was happening, and I felt really bad for her.
Okay.
But we were not seeing each other as much, and she wasn't really going to the church as much.
Right.
Like, we just hadn't seen each other because we had moved. We were moving, or we had moved. So I went to church, and her and Corey were there, and of course we saw each other. We gave hugs, and I had that teeny little piece of like, well, she kind of like hurt my feelings by doing that and not talking to me. And so we saw the kids, and she was like, yeah, I got a job as a principal at Pack Point. And I was like, oh my gosh, Colton goes to Pack Point. That's amazing. Like, good for you. Because I figured things had probably worked themselves out, and she had taken care of stuff, and she probably didn't want to be around those people that doubted her or whatever. So she was moving away because that was just an awful thing to go through. Oh my God, I feel so stupid.
Okay, so now fast forward to Scamanda podcast.
So then I hear about this podcast and I was like, oh my gosh, I know her. And they're like, what? Wait, what? And they were like, listen to the podcast. So I started kind of listening, but I honestly I couldn't still wrap my head around it. Like I now was like, okay, crap. And then when I heard that like they've proven that she didn't have cancer was when I was like,
wow.
What?
Right.
Like all the questions that everybody else has. Right. How? Come on. She had. I saw pictures. Her head was bald. Like, all the things. Like everything lined up. And I was just like, that's not possible. Mm-hmm. And then they were like, she's going to jail.
Did she go to jail? I don't know the story.
She went to jail.
Oh, shoot.
And then I was like, and so of course my sister and I were like, what? Oh my God. And then is when I felt like, oh my gosh, my friends must be horrified.
Oh.
It just broke my heart that I had introduced her to all of these women who gave their hard-earned money. They gave money that they would have given to somebody else. Like that's where I just wanted to cry.
That could have been somebody else. Yeah.
That could have been someone else. And like I said, someone that we had helped a couple of years before had recently passed. Ooh. And it was just heartbreaking. And that's when I was like, I felt sick because I thought, oh my God, like, do my friends think, I can't imagine they would think that I knew. I just but there was guilt and embarrassment. Yeah. And like, I just felt, I was so sad because I thought, oh my God, I thought I was a good judge of character. Mm-hmm. And I think the thousands of people she swindled do too, because I talked to a lot of people. Right. And for someone to go to the degrees that she went to is insane.
Yeah, it's a mental illness at some.
It has to be. Degree. It was like she had to have at some point. I have to believe like she had to have believed it herself or something. Yeah. Because otherwise, how do you even go there? Yeah. Like that's sick. That's twisted.
Yeah, it's so twisted.
So then I'm sitting there the other night, and it was like a couple weeks ago.
Recently.
Recently. So I didn't really get into the podcast, honestly, because I really didn't want to see, like I just was sick about it. Mm-hmm. I didn't even want to get into it because I just was sick. And so I didn't even listen to the whole podcast. Uh-huh. And then my brother sends me a text. Now my brother lives in Virginia, and he's all, is this you? And it said, Sheleen, Williams is, an angel. She gave me a wig pro bono, like on TV. I'm like, where did you see that? And he's like, it's literally on ABC right now.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh my God. So I turn on the TV, and I'm like, what the hell? Because I kind of had heard, but I was still, something in me is still like, this
it's almost like
real.
A block. Yeah.
Yeah. Like this didn't happen. Like I didn't get taken like that.
Yeah.
Like no one can do that. Like that's just sick. Like you think of crazy people, like, you think of like a psychopath, like can
sociopath.
Do things, sociopath. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so, and I knew her. So it was just bizarre. So then 2 hours later, I get a text from a girlfriend. Is this you? And not only is there the snippet of the words, but then there's the picture of me and my friends. And I was like, I'm literally on the show?
That's insane. Like Sheleen, because you had told me about one of the other people that was in the chair next to me was talking about, oh my God, I'm listening to this great podcast, Scamanda. And that's when you're like, oh my God, I know her, right? And that's when we heard about this. But this was like a year ago or so. But then for it to come up again, it's like it keeps pulling you in.
But go ahead.
I mean, let me ask you this. Did it taint you a little bit? Because I know you're very much into your like philanthropy and helping people. And I know it kind of like, got you into like wanting to do more of that in terms of helping people 100%. With cancer and wigs. And we're going to get into that. But did it kind of ruin things for you a little bit there for a while? Like your trust in humanity?
You know what? Crazy enough, it didn't.
Okay, good.
And I don't understand why. I kind of don't. I have faith. Yeah. So, but it's not like, it's not about my faith. Like I know my faith takes a huge part in things because I feel like my faith softens my heart towards, a lot of things. But it's not that. It's like, I just feel like it made me feel more for people who are suffering. Like
the real suffering, like people who are actually suffering.
It actually made me feel like I wanted to help them even more, because jerks like that would take something that is so painful to so many people. I mean, it's one of those things that it's like you hear that word, and no matter what or how, what kind of cancer or whatever, I've been told so many times by my clients and my friends that you feel like you just got served a death sentence, no matter what. And then, of course, you work through the different things, that the options.
But
and
initially,
I mean, if I heard cancer, I would think, oh my God, it's a death sentence. If someone, and we've all been touched by it now. It's so rampant. And it's like, it just blows my mind. I cannot wrap my mind around how someone could take something that where people are suffering like that. And it's like, because even with nothing to do with her, because I helped her with her wig, it was one of the first wigs that I kind of colored and did and gave. And I felt so excited about it. I just felt so happy that I could actually give her hair.
Yeah.
And seeing her face and how shiny and bright her like skin looked, because the hair color matched, and it was just so fun. It gave me a joy that I just couldn't explain. And so it started me sort of on the journey of doing more of that kind of work.
I love it.
Not just beauty.
So something technically negative actually kickstarted something so positive for you.
Yeah. Yep.
I love that. So what have you done since, like, in terms of that kind of stuff?
Oh, I mean, I've helped a lot of people with like kind of getting through that period of letting them know, like, because what I like to do is when someone knows they're going to go through chemotherapy, I like to see where they are before they lose their hair, because they most of the time know they're going to lose their hair, obviously before. And so we can design something that looks like them, and finding because I mean, there's everything's online now, but they don't look real. They don't feel real. And they're already feeling awful, and they don't feel well physically. They feel uncomfortable seeing themselves without hair. So I get to be part of that. But then I've also been able to be part of, Kaiser Santa Clara. I have a client who works in the children's pediatric cancer ward. And a couple of times now I've gotten to go and bring hair for young children that are sick. Sorry. One of them is doing well that I hear. And one of them that I did more recently, she passed. She was, I think she was 8. But just being there for her and her mom, because her mom just wanted her to, I didn't totally realize it, but they knew she was dying. Yeah. She was in respite. I think they called it something that I was like, what does that mean? And apparently she was in her last days or hours. Yeah. And it was, her mom wanted her to feel pretty, because her family was coming to say goodbye, and they were going to be taking a lot of pictures and such. And I got a call, and I think it was sort of an emergency. My client did say it was something that was important,
right?
And I was like, well, I have lots of resources I can give you. We can get her a free human hair wigs. I have a couple of organizations that I work with. And she was like, well, she does need something like I'm like this weekend, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm digging through all these wigs that I have, and I'm looking, and I had a black wig with bangs. And I thought, well, it's maybe a little bit too big. So I grabbed that. I grabbed some different things from the salon, and I got them all together. And then the next day I went. Wow. And I got to be with the family, and I can't even explain, like, that I was able to help her mom. She was not very coherent, but I felt this strength that came over me in there, because my first thought was, I did call my friend, my client, and I said, like, what's the mood? Like, I don't really know what to say. I don't know.
Right.
I mean,
That's
this is like
very, very difficult.
This is something I could never, ever, want anyone to go through. And so, she just said, so what this means is she is in the end of her life, And so you're doing such a sweet thing by coming in. And I don't know. I feel like God just gave me the strength to go in and be sweet and be gentle.
Yeah.
It was just, I've had a lot of years of being with people that are suffering or that are dealing with hard things. And so it was really beautiful. Her family was beautiful. The way that they were caring for her was beautiful. It was beautiful to be a part of.
That's so cool. I mean, it's so crazy. And I know, like we joked in the last episode that I had you on of Candidly with Coffee, we were talking about how hair is so important.
Yeah.
We were talking about how hair is just so important. And I mean, I can attest to that. My brother, he went through cancer when he was 12. And the thing that traumatized him the most was losing his hair. And still to this day, hair is the most important thing to him. So, he still struggles. He has had multiple surgeries. And his first question is always like, how's it going to impact my hair? Where's the scar going to be? Can I grow it back? It is important. So like people might think like, oh, wigs, like what's that going to do? A lot. A lot. If it's the one thing that's going to make you feel better and that you can be a part of that and that you kind of found your true passion for it.
Like my philanthropy, my way to like make
that's your purpose.
Difference.
Yeah, I love it.
It's so cool. And one of the things that I have kind of championed for is I want to find a way for medical to cover these things because until you've sat with as many people as I've sat with, and literally it only takes a couple, I don't understand why they're not helped through insurance. Some people can get a stipend and it's usually about $1,000. It's very difficult. It's hard to go through the process.
Right.
And I feel like it's so wrong and unfair because I've had women tell me point blank, I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but when they told me I was going to lose my hair or the fear of losing my hair was worse than my cancer diagnosis. And I was just like, it actually doesn't sound ridiculous to me.
It's not ridiculous.
Because I hear it all the time that it is so much part of who we are. And there are people out there that say, oh, I'm just going to shave my head, guys or whatever. And some women just do the little scarf and all that. But it's not a vanity thing. It's literally like it's part of our identity.
100%.
Who we are. And if you have thinning hair, because when someone has cancer or a very bad illness, when your body is sick, you can see it in your hair.
100%.
Almost first. It's like then people that have other things like, androgenetic alopecia or alopecia, then they feel like they've got this big sign on them that says I'm sick. Even, you know what I mean? So it is just something that it just hits people to the core of their soul.
It does. And you
It's
do,
nuts.
even beyond the wigs, I know, because I'm sitting there and I hear you consult with people and talk to people all day, different things. You have so many different solutions for so many different people who come in with, barely any hair, and you figure out a way.
Absolutely. And I've been in I would say like business circles, like when you're, scaling your business and stuff like that, they're like, pick a lane, and I'm like, I can't.
No.
Because every single human being needs something different. And I refuse to give somebody something that's awful and uncomfortable. So I'm constantly trying to find a way for them to treat, because I'm passionate about the scalp and scalp health and health.
Yeah.
So it's like they have to go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And if you're gluing something on someone's head, or if you're putting something that's going to be, blocking their follicles for hours and hours and hours at a time, like that doesn't work for me.
I know, especially because for like someone who's having treatment, maybe their hair loss is temporary. So you want to help, we want to make sure they could get their hair back.
Yep.
So we don't want to do something that's going to cause damage. That's what's important too. And I know that that's important to you. I know, I hear you.
They're already sick.
Yeah.
They're already uncomfortable. And then in their desperate attempt to feel a little bit more like themselves, because everything is upside down now and everything, like the world literally is stopped and you're just fighting for your life and you just want to feel normal for a freaking day and a half an hour.
Yeah.
And then you put this thing on your head that's hot and gross, and you may look in the mirror and be like, okay, a little bit more like myself, but you're uncomfortable. I'm like, that is just absolutely not acceptable.
Yeah.
So I try to find anything I can. And there's just not, I mean, there's so much out there, but there's not.
Right.
You know, so I found some solutions that are pretty phenomenal, and they're the best that there is. That, you know what I mean? Like I go for things that feel as natural as possible. Lightweight. You know, nobody wants to put on a big fat wig. Like I'm not saying it's too big for them. I'm saying that when you put it on, you feel like you've got like this huge,
you just don't feel
funky bowl on your head, or like, you know, wig on your head. So my goal is to try to help people to find things that feel more like themselves.
Yeah.
And to really hear them. Because I know even I struggled through that over time. Like I'd put something on somebody and say, you look beautiful. And they're like, but I don't feel like myself.
Right.
I feel ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so I've been shaped over the years by going through these things with people.
Experience.
And it is something that I feel is the most rewarding. Like, it makes me love my job. I've been doing hair for over 30 years, and I love it like a little kid. I'm doing a lot in my business right now, and it brings me to having to work on a lot of paperwork and stuff like that. And I'm like, my head is pounding, and I'm feeling like overwhelmed. I've got dry mouth because I'm just like stressed. And then I'll like have a client, and I'll walk out there, and within a few minutes, it's like, I'm giggling. I feel light. I'm like, oh my God.
It's your purpose.
I feel so happy. And I love my job. I mean, you know, like I'm in there and I'm like, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, you get so excited.
Every single day when I go to work. And even the hard things, they don't feel hard in the same way. Because it's my passion.
I love that. I feel like that's what gives people pure joy, is if you find your purpose in life, then it's just like full steam ahead.
Yeah.
So full steam ahead for you
is hair, as helping people, is giving people hair, you know, like, and I do all the normal stuff too. But the other thing, the thing that originally inspired me was my own self, you know, because I was so mean to myself.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel pretty. And people would say that, you know, like, oh, you're pretty. And I would think, well, you might think I'm pretty, but like, I thought it was a joke. I thought it was weird. And it was really sad to me as I got older and learned about like what I was kind of doing to myself. And I always saw such beauty in other people. And so when I would hear somebody's story or hear them say like, oh, you know, I just have ugly, ratty hair, and there's nothing you can do about it. Do your best, you know? And I started to have this passion for those people because my heart would hurt for them, because I think there was a hurting person inside of me, you know, that was like, I get you, girl.
Yeah.
And people would say like, well, you have nice hair. I'm like, you do not know the lengths that I go through to have it look nice, you know?
Exactly.
And
I always feel that way.
Right?
And I always feel like I have to give people like the rundown. Like if they're like, oh my gosh, you're so beautiful, or you have such beautiful hair. I'm like, oh no, my hair is extremely thin. It's, you know, I have to get, you know, all kinds of things done. It's like, I don't want people to think that like I roll out of bed like this. I'm like, you guys, I don't. I do a lot of things for myself in a lot of ways, from head to toe.
Yeah.
You know, and so I feel like sometimes people can look at someone and admire like, oh, they look nice and thin and pretty and they have beautiful hair. Like, no, don't envy me, because you could have this too.
Yes.
I just do a lot of things.
Yeah. It's important though. You recognize certain things. Like with my weight, it was so hard to lose weight, but it was not, it's like I felt the same way. Like I started losing my hair actually when I was in my 30s. I always had thin hair, but this was like, I was actually always obsessed with hair. I was doing extensions when I was 17, you know, like had it down to my butt.
I know. You were the first person to do extensions in this area, period.
I actually was, I did the very first individual strand extensions that like people that didn't have like textured hair could wear strand by strand. I did those, yes, and there were some debacles, and I even stopped doing them because it was like they melted to the head when they would go in a tanning booth. I mean, it was nuts.
I remember you telling me these stories.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy. I mean, we could go on because you have stories and you have solutions, and I just want to, like, I don't know. I know this is a bonus episode. We talked to Sheleen in a couple of episodes of Candidly with Coffee, but I mean, we didn't even scratch the surface on the things that you have. It's just amazing. If you want to feel better about your hair health or your hair, the way it looks right now, she's got the instant gratification solutions paired with the long-term solutions, paired with just all the things.
Yeah,
so
health, wellness. We have a doctor. We have a nutritionist. I feel like we found the keys like the kind of the perfect combination of things that we're getting success with.
I love it. And so for sure, you guys, again, Shaleen's information's down in the description. And I just want to say how cool that such a crappy situation, a sad, situation kind of led you even further down the path to your purpose. I think that's really cool. I always say there's always good that you can pull out of even the worst situations. And I think for sure in that situation, that would be the good.
Yeah.
And then I would also like to say that you guys, the next episode will be right along with this of Candidly with Coffee. Make sure you tune in because we're going to talk about how to reinvent yourself, how to feel good about yourself, your style, your makeup, your hair. It doesn't mean necessarily that you have to go out and do these crazy things, but you can feel good about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it's not too late. Are good at helping people do that. And just bringing the awareness.
Yeah.
And giving the permission.
Right.
And
do what makes you feel the best. Not for your brother, your neighbor, your sister, yourself.
Yep. It's so valuable and it can change everything when you take care of yourself. And we both know that. Like I had someone come in to get a haircut and they lost their father like the day before, a couple of days before. And it was just so precious to see just getting that, having his head massaged and having a haircut because he had been in the hospital for a month with his father. It was just, it's so good for your soul.
Yes, I love that. And we're going to leave everyone with that. The external, it impacts the internal
it does.
As well. There's synergy between the two. It's both. It goes both ways. So self-care, that's the message. All right, you guys, thank you so much. Thank you, Sheleen, and we'll see you in the next one.